What's on your evil mind?
Hold your insulting tongue and mark my words well.
How about this rumor that you are really Iron Man, Mr. Stark?
Hello, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Comic Book Chronicles. I'm your host, Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter. You can find me at NewsNerdNito and Blue Sky on Twitter. You can find me at, everywhere.
South Carolina with Columbia down the way.
And sound effects you've heard come from none other than our man in Brooklyn, @agent_70 on Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, and Threads.
What's up, everybody? Co-hosting from the Borough of Kings. The world might be on fire. Come talk to us. We're going to be dealing with the stuff that we'd rather be talking about, at least for a small respite time.
Cook and roll with the Brooklyn boys, so for one last time I need y'all to roll.
I'm just a kid from Brooklyn.
Indeed. And yes, you can find this here podcast on the Cold Slither Podcast Network, the CSPN.us.
Do it today.
Why is Tumblr turned? Okay, never mind. Let me get off of this. You can also find this on your podcast preferred place of choice, whether it be Google Play, Apple, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and the Cold Slither Podcast Network SoundCloud page.
Make sure to click like, subscribe, leave us all the positive 5-star reviews, especially on Apple Podcasts, because that helps people find our show.
Yeah. And, well, first off, Happy Black History Day. Month, excuse me. You know, it just feels like a day because it's a short-ass month. But,
yes. Yeah, and it's already, because of the way the calendar fell, we've already had almost an entire week of February. So, plenty of, hopefully there's still some time left to honor the contributions of Blacks and African Americans in America.
Indeed. And that also goes into the realm of the Olympics and the Super Bowl, all types of sports stuff, because there's definitely a lot of Black history there. And, of course, the upcoming Super Bowl and NBA playoffs, all of that just happening this month. So, hey, it's all connected, but just remember, just remember, when you're placing those bets, there's still some other history behind than just that.
I was gonna say, I think the NBA playoffs don't start for a little while longer.
I thought it was at the end of the month.
No.
Or is it March?
Because
I thought they said the 27th, but I don't know.
I will double check just because I don't have that information, immediately handy. On the
I don't sports ball, so
April.
Okay. Then why were they talking about it? I don't know. Either way, you still got the Olympics and the Super Bowl. Then I recant my partial statements. Either way, that's not what we're here to talk about. Even though
it's only what we're here to talk about when I'm watching it during the show,
or try to get you to not talk about while we're recording a show. But yes, which is weird for me to even be bringing it up because considering the fact that the opening ceremony has gone on today as we were recording. I think it's probably over with, or it's going on by now, or over with. Being that it's not even in the country. Regardless, again, we're not here to talk about that. Just saying, you want some context of where we are. And the ills of the world are do better by talking about anything other than what's the hell's going on outside of the stuff I just mentioned. So with that, folks, we are going to go into actually, did you want to go ahead and talk about the Game of Thrones show, or was it anything worth talking about?
Sure. I mean, listen, I'll just talk about it very quickly. for anyone following Night of the Seven Kingdoms, it is following this novella that George R.R. Martin wrote. I am not a book fan. I definitely am just a TV follower, at least for now. And this show, believe it or not, is if you're hesitant to get into it, don't be, because it's a lot of fun. It's actually fairly brief. It's fairly quick. It's not a full hour each week. It's generally half an hour, 35 minutes at most, and per episode. And there's usually a lot of action going on. And I believe there's only 6 episodes total. So there's it definitely flows very quickly, and obviously I don't want to spoil everything, but there's a certain element missing that helps lower the production costs of this show. So they're able to do a lot more with less, and it's been a lot. It's been a lot of fun. I'm really enjoying it. So, Night of the Seven Kingdoms.
Was it more bottle episodes, or where there happened to be recording it, or yeah?
No, far from it being far from there being bottle episodes, because it's such a compact storyline that things are moving quickly between episode to episode, because I believe it's just 6 episodes. I believe.
Right. I just saw something on right before I clicked off of it, something from G. Willow Wilson that I guess harkens back to the original series in a slight bit. Don't know. So either way, hey, enjoy that for all of those who are enjoying that, I guess. And I know Agent 70 said he also watched that old Muppets revival thing.
Yes, the Muppet Show.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Wait. So, do you have info on that? I did not bother to look up anything on it before I watched it.
As far as I know, it sounds like it's just a one night revival thing that with hopes of possibly getting picked up. But as far as I know, that's about it. As from what I know.
Got it. I mean, listen, it harkened back to a lot of fun, it brought back a lot of good memories. And at the end of the day, for sheer nostalgia, it was really fun. It was great to see a lot of the different Muppets getting some shine. Some of the, I guess, even newer ones or less popular ones were out. Were out there. If you've watched some of the more recent movies, I haven't, but if you've watched some of the more recent movies, I'm gonna presume that a lot of these characters get some screen time there. But a lot of the old Muppet Show elements were very much intact. They're very much intact, including our guys Statler and Waldorf. So
Hey, boo! It was awful. It was terrible. Get him away! Well, there were parts of it that weren't very good, though. Could have been a lot better.
They actually cracked a couple of pretty good jokes. So,
which is funny because actually no, that was last year when they were at the Game Awards. But yeah, the Muppets have been around here and there, and I was kind of wondering because there was a Game Awards fairly recently, or a couple of months ago, put it that way. And you see the like Miss Piggy was there, and I think Miss Piggy, Rolf, I think that was it at the time, and then Statler and Waldorf was there like some other time or last year. Regardless, and I was kind of wondering what other reason why they were there, and I don't think it had anything to do with this that was coming up, even though this had been announced by that time, because like I said, they had just been there a couple of years just for whatever reason. But it made sense knowing that this exists, that it's like, hey, Muppets still around. Sure. And there's still a thing going on with the Muppets, and from what I understand from little bits of what I saw from online, the nostalgia hit, and based on what you were saying also, like nostalgia just hit right where it needed to be. So, which is cool. So I hope despite it being like supposedly like a one-time special, maybe it'll get picked up again, and they'll keep it going for a little bit. Because who doesn't like the Muppets? Actually, that reminds me of another Muppet thing that we had talked about like a while ago that I don't think you had seen, but I'll if I remember after the show, I'll send it to you. But that being the case, that's cool. I'm gonna have to watch it pretty soon. Like I said, I had intended to. There's just things that have been happening the last couple of days, and I forgot. But we are going to go into again, actually what we're here for, and get into some comic books. Starting off with Nova Centurion number 4.
Alrighty, Nova Centurion number 4 is written by Jed MacKay with art by Matteo Della Fonte. Colors are by Mattia Iacono, and letters are by VC's Corey Petit. There's a kind of a very much, I feel like the theme of this particular story was like almost like a role-playing setup, that we have our little band of misfits, and they're in town to do something, they get something done, and then something happens involving their ship where they have to give chase, and the chase is part of the adventure of this issue, and the cliffhanger reveal shows us that things have kind of come full circle when it comes to the story in this book so far. What do you think, Roddykat?
I can agree with that. I want to ask you a question.
Shoot.
And also make a statement. But the question is, so I think this is the first time in the series that we have seen, as far as I can remember, seeing Richard Rider's ship. The question I have for you in that, did it look at all familiar to you in any kind of way? Out of curiosity.
I could have sworn we've seen it earlier.
I don't remember.
In previous issues. I mean, I didn't bother to look back on it. We can always kind of flip back to it and see.
Because we've definitely been on the inside of it, but I don't remember seeing an outside
external
shot.
shots.
Right.
Okay. Got it. That's an excellent question. Did it look familiar to me? What do you think it was evoking?
Well, it's a couple of things. There's a little bit of Star Trek in the design, but also a little bit of Rom Space Knight.
No kidding.
To me, at least, especially with the front part of it. But
now you got me checking this out.
Like I said, it could be just me, and it's where my brain kind of goes. But it definitely had like Star Trek. It felt like Star Trek sensibilities with the overall, because it, if you just round out some stuff, then it would definitely look like a Star Trek ship, or Federation ship more specifically. But like I said, the folk just the front of it just kind of, for some strange reason, evoked, and even the color of it, honestly, just kind of reminded me of Rom Space Knight.
Sure. I get it. I see it. I can see it. It wouldn't strike. That wouldn't be. Well, the art doesn't evoke that for me, but I can definitely see where you're coming from and what you're seeing when you flip through it.
Right. But overall, so as Age of 70 said, yes, the plot of this issue definitely would be something that would have happened in a sci-fi show at one point in time, and probably several sci-fi shows now that I could think about it. But that's just a trope. And in this particular case, the perpetrator of this, we find out at the end who's behind it, but we're seeing who actually does the caper. Some would describe as a Timu Lando Calrissian.
Oh no,
I'm quite sure, because he definitely comes off as such, and I know we've seen this person before. I'm actually trying to remember where.
You said a Timu Lando Calrissian.
I mean, come on. If you're watching the video version, you can see. You can see what the person looks like, but that doesn't necessarily give you the sense of how he acts, in which you get a little bit of, in the course of this issue, and you can see what I'm talking about. And again, I know we've seen this guy somewhere else before. It might even been in this book previously, but I feel like I've seen him in another book outside of just this one. But I could be particularly wrong about that one. But yeah. We find out that, and I'm not sure, maybe Agent 70 could tell me, but there's a particular aspect of the Nova uniform that we get a use for that I don't recall ever seeing previously.
That was new to me, I think, as well.
Okay. That's what I thought. I'm like, you know what? Sure, why not? Reuse the thing for something else and repurpose, I guess, is what the word I was actually looking for. But I was like, I don't remember that actually ever happening before. So, and I'm not even sitting here saying that I'm the biggest Nova reader, but it's like any other time, it's like usually expends energy and not using it for what he does it. But it solves a problem, or at least I assume temporarily.
Right. I think that's part of the one of the aspects of the story that it's one of the driving aspects of the story is that there is a need to consistently refuel not ships but the Nova force and the Nova being himself. Right. That hasn't necessarily been a factor in previous iterations of the character prior. So I think McKay is making that a feature, and I didn't mind it. I thought it made sense.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean even on like the other side of the coin, like on the distinguished competition, the Lanterns had to refuel every now and then, and we saw their source of resupply constantly. Right. As also coming up with everything. But yeah,
they had to do it basically every 24 hours.
Right. So it's like with the Nova Corps, it's like I assumed it was assumed that the source was there and probably either constantly already just being there, being dripped out, or being there in some way, shape, or fashion that we, as far as I know, never saw before.
Right.
Like, sorry, we know they could have been solar power, but that wouldn't have been a factor in this case if that was the case. So. But yeah, therein lies the thing. Maybe that'll be added to if they do the another version of the Ohatmu. It was just kind of funny to see. I was like, yeah, I don't think that's ever been the case before. But we're good on them for throwing that in there. Also, there was also a mention of a couple of other folks who also have a power set of their own, who I totally forgot came from the same place that the Nova Corps came from.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I didn't. I don't think I ever knew that, honestly.
Oh, no kidding.
Because you saw those characters and you saw, as far as I can remember, I remember some particular origin of one of them or one of both of them. Actually, one of them less than the other.
Got it.
But I just don't remember. I just totally remember. I was like, oh, I didn't know they were from there. That was something. Got it. So basically, what I'm saying is this issue was kind of informative for.
Yeah, I was about to say it's definitely well, those are probably the first times we've seen reference to those characters in like a year or two or several years.
Pretty much, yeah.
And I was just flipping through. We have seen external shots of the ship. Okay. I think it's just maybe an effect of the art or the coloring in this issue that really evokes the ROM Space Knight look.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Like I said, I don't remember it as such, and I'm not doubting you one way, shape, or form. So it was like, I figured that might have been the case.
Yeah. Right. I'm literally looking through. So definitely we've seen a couple of external shots through the first 4 issues of this series. So
gotcha.
It's funny, if we really wanted to and pull like the actual Ohatmu entries for Nova,
right,
and see exactly how they recharge, that would be interesting to see if this is the first time that we've seen them actually plug in, to recharge themselves.
And that's assumed that's what even have it, because I would assume if they have it, then whatever wiki out there would also have that information, because a lot of that stuff pulls from Ohatmu. Yeah, that would be something to look into after the show. So
sure.
I might actually end up doing that because, like I said, when I saw it, I was like, "That's new?" Question mark. So
Right. I had the same feeling.
yeah, cool. But yeah, that was Centurion #4. It's continues to be a pretty good series so far. As we talked about before the show. Question mark how long it lasts.
Right. Like, is it getting support, amongst the readers? Are they getting sales? Unfortunately, these books do need support in order to keep being published. So, listen, if you guys, are looking for some fun space adventures, give this book a try. It's fun. There's a couple little extra quirks thrown in there, where Richard Rider is not just a space cop, but he's kind of a space mercenary, in this iteration. So
Right.
he's a space hero for hire.
Yes, there we go. That works
Right.
out. And a space hero for hire who may or may not be mending old or recent wounds if the last page of the book is in the indication, or
Right.
we'll go into in the indication of. But I guess we will see next issue. And with that, we will go to actually another Jed MacKay written book, and actually this time I can say that for quite certainty, or at least for the time being. Avengers #35.
Alrighty, Avengers #35 is written by Jed MacKay with pencils by Sergio Davila. Inks are by Ore Jimenez. Colors are by Federico Blee, and letters are by VC's Corey Petit. This issue finds the Avengers and the Twilight Court working together. It's Team Up City. And we get a lot of inter-team cooperation, inter-team team-ups, learning to complement each other, both COMPLIMENT and COMPLEMENT, right? Because their skills, their abilities are complementing each other while they're simultaneously complementing each other on what they see are, their respective good qualities. So at the end of the issue, things don't exactly work out, and we're still hurtling forward into, I believe it's the final issue of MacKay's run coming up.
Right.
So, and I'll hand it off to Roddykat with that.
So yeah, I guess a couple of the best things about this book, outside of as good as this volume was personally, the connecting covers. If you're watching the video version, you can see one of. Which I think we forgot to talk about, or we didn't talk about last issue. I think that was when that started. It was either this one or the next one. I can't remember, but I think it did start last issue.
Yeah. This is the second of the three.
Yeah. So you can see Avengers past and present on the cover, adorned on there. That is that Dodderman?
Yes, it's Russell Dodderman.
Yeah. So covers. If you're out there looking to grab those, but as far as the interior stuff, like I said, we weren't really sure after that last issue. Like, we knew we had a couple of other issues, to go, but it was like, well, what else was there to do? What else was there to do outside of stopping Kang and dealing with the thing that he was seeking, that he had sought and had enacted? Well, we get to that second part of that in this issue. And of course, Kang, being the doubter that he is, was like, y'all can't do it. And the Cap was like, look who you talking to. Which was a nice line. It was like, impossible. Look at us. We all here. So yeah. So a plan is enacted. and goes into place, almost D&D like fashion. Almost. It doesn't quite happen like that. You know, they didn't necessarily, you know, pair off and go on a various. But, you know, a plan was enacted. You could almost see the montage without the montage happening, almost 18 style. But of course, there's a wrinkle, and that wrinkle comes in, which some would say gets an answer to in a weird way, but still, in fact, leads to whatever we're going to get in the next issue, which also goes back to answer the question, okay, so what else is there next to do now?
Right.
Because presumably the two things that were in you know, at play here are dealt with. So is this next one just going to be an epilogue, or, you know, probably more likely another jumping off point to I'm assuming Bendis's thing, or whatever the case
It's
may be.
probably going to be half and half.
Yeah, because we got a smidgen of it in the anniversary issue last issue, but, you know, it's like, you know what, bring it on home, Jed McKay, and ship yourself off. Not ship yourself off, but you know,
Yeah, wrap up your story.
yeah. So give yourself the salute, which you deserve with this one, because you put a lot in this joint, and the other things surrounding it.
Yeah.
So we will see what happens with that in the next issue. The funny part about it, the wrinkle that came into play, was like, yeah, I remember they were still around it, and I remember that had been brought up a couple of issues ago, but I totally forgot that they were still around to come back in. Even though I think I might have even thought then, I was like, oh right, clearly they're going to come back into play at some point.
Who's they? The Twilight Court?
No, the other folks, the
Ashen Combine. The
Ashen Combine, yeah.
You know, the people who need lotion.
Right, basically. Nice. So yeah, because they had been brought up a few issues back, and it was like, yeah, okay, clearly they're going to get one last hurrah here, and now we get the issue where that was the case. So, you know, cleaning up things before the grand exit here is what is the name of the game here. So
that would be funny if they were defeated by, you know, moisture.
I know, right? Like, hold on, you need some lotion. And that's done. Oh wow, we're glistening now. Shoot. Thanks, Avengers in Twilight Court.
Oh my god.
Have a big ass bottle of Jergens, right?
Oh god.
I mean, look, it's not like we haven't seen product placement in comic books before, so, you know, and or just collaborations, which we will talk about somewhat later. So yeah. But that, folks, is Avengers number 35. Oh, that's funny. We are going to get to we're going to get away from Marvel for a second and go into the distinguished competition with Batgirl number 16.
Alrighty, Batgirl number 16 is written by Tate Bromble with pencils and inks by, Takeshi Miyazawa. Inks are also by Juan Castro. Colors are by Mike Spicer, and letters are by Tom Napolitano, another lettering paisan. What did you think? Yeah, I'm kind of curious to hear Roddykat's take on the ending of this particular arc, because this is the big arc that introduced it's not the arc that introduced, but it's kind of the arc that kind of establishes this new character who is a sibling to Batgirl, and kind of establishes who these characters are that were definitely behind what is at least a comic book demise of a fairly prominent character in Batgirl's life, and a fairly prominent character in the rogues gallery, the overall rogues gallery of the DC universe. So what did you think of this story that kind of established, you know, like all these aspects of, you know, or how can I best put this, kind of filled in a lot of the the supporting characters and the story basically of this of this era of Batgirl.
Right. Well, first of all, the way this has been going and the way this ended is probably the best it was going to be able to do with what's been going on here. Now, that being said, it still leaves a few questions up in the air. And that part was, I assume they're going to get to that because I was like, because you would think at the end of all of this whole mission, they would have just closed the door on a lot of this. But that doesn't seem to be the case from the way it reads. Though, if anything, the thing I expected it to do was probably bring kind of Cass and Tenji a little closer, and that seems to be going that route with this issue from Revelations. But also, once again, still, well, that's probably the only definitive thing that kind of has happened so far in this thing. Because, like I said, there's the couple of questions that this issue leaves off with, I assume is going to come back up at some point, even though one of them I figured would have been answered by something that got revealed by a character, even though, and also even the revelation, which we kind of figured something was going on with the character, we still don't know exactly what and who they're aligned with fully. But also there's one other question was like, wait, this character got dispatched one kind of way. How did they end up just coming back a couple of pages later? Like, did they, it's kind of one of those movie things. It's like, oh, we saw this person get thrown off a building and now they just walk back in the scene.
Right.
Like, wait, why, how? Now, in this particular case, as far as I know of their power set, maybe they could have turned into a bird. As far as we know, they've only turned into a person. So I don't know, but regardless, answers upon questions upon questions, but the overall answer, as far as what we have so far, it was good. Like I said, the questions that we still have coming out of this though, and where it actually leaves some of these characters, specifically Cass and Tenji, like they're still got to work that out clearly.
Right.
But it does, at the very least, kind of opens the door to that, while at the very least taking care of the quote mission part of the story, or most of the mission part. Because again, there are still questions about some of that stuff that's there that I don't know if we're going to get to, but therein lies that. What about you? What did you think about it?
I thought it was a little uneven, just because there are a lot of supporting characters here that I don't have any kind of connection to, and I didn't have that connection established. And I think that's definitely a little bit. That's one thing that left me wanting a little bit. I definitely like the action. Taka Miyazawa's art on this was great, and I really like the whole some of the fight choreography where there are characters, specifically Batgirl, who's just doing a lot of like nerve touches. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, she learned.
Tap, 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 tap. It's like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. The way they, the way they choreograph that's pretty fun.
Yeah, and which also again proves that, hey, she had been listening. She'd been learning. Because throughout most of the story, she had been taught some things, but she had been resistant to actually learning the lessons behind them, whatnot, or so we thought. But we come to find out, oh no, she actually was paying attention. Now, that being said, the person who, again, there are questions with the person who taught her this stuff,
right?
That are there are yet to be answered, and I'm assuming that's going to come back up, but we shall see. Which also brought on your point of unevenness, because there was a point where that character kind of pops back up, but then just disappears again.
Right.
At the end, I'm sitting like, okay, so where did that person go? And this other character who had interacted with that character just popped up, like, and at first I was like, wait, so did that person just chip into the other person? Which wouldn't make any sense given their interaction, but. What was going on here? But I just kind of was like, okay, maybe we're going to get some answers, in the next issue or 2 or 3 or something. We don't know. But that being said, there was a fun part I thought in the book, and it could be just me and looking at way too many memes, that a character does the Arthur fist. If anybody knows that meme. So, in a panel, and I was like, shout out to Talk Me Sour for putting that out there like that, which was kind of funny.
The Arthur fist. Okay.
Yes, like I said, there are people. I'll show you after the show, but people know what I'm talking about.
I'd have to look that up.
Yeah.
You know what's funny is that there's an aspect to the art that made me think of, especially with the gun turrets, on mountains. It kind of made me think of Top Gun Maverick. With all the missile turrets on the various mountains,
right?
that they're flying through. But it just happened to kind of evoke that imagery to me.
Sure, not too many times you see turrets and mountains, unless like Cybertronians in a particular ship or something. So I get that. But yeah, that was Batgirl number 16. Like I said, the seemingly the end of this story, unless there's a little bit more to that's gonna get hashed out before going into the next part of the book, or whatever comes next in the book. But I guess we shall see. Next up, though, and the last book that we have in common, jeez Louise. Here we go, folks. DC K.O. Boss Battle number 1 of, was it 5? I believe.
No, this is a one shot.
Is this a one shot? Oh, that's right, because it's yes, it's a part
It's not
of
the miniseries.
Right. No, I was thinking of one the other book that I read, but yes.
Give me 1 second. I just want to pull this up so I can get into the conversation. Goodness gracious. All right. DC Boss Battle number 1 is written by Jeremy Adams with art by Ronan Kliqs, Carmine Di Giandomenico, Kieran McCown, Pablo M. Collar. Colors are by Hi-Fi, and letters are by another lettering paisan, Tom Napolitano. So this is, the last ditch effort by the heroes and the World Forger, who looks like Piccolo, seeking champions from beyond to help boost the powers of the final 4 champions of DC who are left standing before they take on the absolute DC Trinity, right? And so that's the idea behind this book, is that there's dark side energy they have to create. Oh my god, my head hurts talking about it. So they have to defeat these characters in order to create dark side energy or omega energy or whatever the hell Snyder came up with in this, to power up. Right? Goodness gracious, they need to power themselves up so they can take on the DC Absolute Trinity, because they were brought up in the DC Absolute universe and they're more powerful than the traditional DC Trinity are, right? So, or these 4 heroes, and spoiler alert, the 4 people left are Wonder Woman, Superman, Lex Luthor, and the Joker, right? Mm-hmm. So they resurrect a few extra of the champions to help fight, right? To help fight these external champions that Piccolo, the World Forger, brings in. And these external champions are from other comic book realities and properties and companies. And I'll hand it off to Roddykat because my brain hurts trying to talk about this.
So we have been talking about this book leading up to this because there's been a lot of news about it, and it was like, well, this is going to be some stupid shit, and it is, and arguably stupid in a good way, but stupid nonetheless. So yeah, and also, as I will point out, not the only Dragon Ball reference that this book or even this event has done, as we will talk about a little bit later. But definitely this was a thing. So yeah, this book was just pretty much ginned up. It was like, you know what, let's get all these other people in here to basically, it's almost like, hey, when the arc where Goku goes into the hyperspace, the time chamber to train before he comes back out to fight Cell or whatever the case may be, and it just happened to be something kind of. And well, some would argue that this universe's Goku had already had a power up, which again we'll allude back to later on. Because of another thing. So yeah, that was that. But it was, like I said, a dumb fun book. You know, could there have been more to it? Probably not. The funny parts about it is like, all right, you can see where some of these people come into play, because Mortal Kombat and DC has had a relationship. They're Injustice, the video game, and the comic book they're in. DC versus Mortal Kombat was also there, and one of the last couple of Mortal Kombat books. Mortal Kombat video games had some DC characters in it. And also the Injustice video game had some DC characters. Had a couple of Mortal Kombat characters in it themselves. So again, the ones you would expect to show up from that universe did show up, and of course, a couple of things off that universe did get said, not by those people, but by DC folks. So, which also made it fun and dumb. But yeah, we've probably talked too much about this book, but it's a fun dumb book. Like I said, whether it did anything, more than just like, okay, it was just another book in DC K.O. that was a stopgap in between the next issue of the event proper and half of the other books, side stuff that were either fights or whatever the case may be. So
right. I think what it is, and this is just my own personal feeling, folks. Come at me, if you have if you got anything to say, you can always at me, at age_70 on the former Twitter, or Instagram, or Threads, or however it is you want to reach out and say, hey, you're being a little too harsh on this DC K.O. stuff. I get it.
Not really.
I don't mind the team ups. I don't mind the crossovers, but it's still very silly. I think Roddykat is hitting it right on the head when he says it's a dumb fun book, or a fun dumb book.
As we have said before, if DC is going to do anything, it's going to go bonkers. At the myriad of crises, which supposedly they were supposed to be getting away from, and or whatever, that they just had to pivot to this for, doesn't let that go away, because, like I said,
right.
DC's got some real dumb history and real dumb shit in its,
I was about to say, if this is a way to get me to pick up some of these Vertigo books to say, hey, you know what, you don't want to read our superhero stuff, give this a shot. I wonder if this isn't the impetus I need to read some of the Vertigo books.
Maybe, I don't know. But also, so if actually that brings up another thing, because if the other purpose of this book was to say, hey, these other books are nice and cool, or whatever the case may be, and maybe you might be interested in checking these out. This doesn't really do that, though, because these folks show up and you may or may not know them, from other properties or whatever.
Right, the teddy bear, the female bear, and the living doll who's a horror. Oh, goodness gracious!
Right. So actually, that's the funny part, because I learned, I guess, if I was to take when the bear showed up, it's like, so is that book just Dexter? Is that what I'm getting from what this book is? Because it sure did play out like some Dexter shit. But but I don't know because I've not ever read that book, and I don't know. So, like I said, if it was trying to get me to read it, they almost had me, but no, not really. And like I said, and these other properties, like yeah, you know them. They did like, oh, this could have been something else that they could have, I guess, blossomed into a thing if they really wanted, or made it into another event. But I don't think we need any more events at this point. But
Right.
it is that. So we do have a question from the chat real quick. And I can't fully answer that question.
Oh, that's an interesting question. Where do you guys think Hudlin has gone wrong with Milestone since 16?
I don't see. It's hard for me to answer that question because I'm not prepared to sit here and just fully put it on him. One, and two, DC's use or lack of use of the Milestone stuff since then. You know, they did. It's not like they got the greatest push since then. Also, and that is definitely a DC side problem partially. That being said, though, I mean the stuff that has come out since then, I mean, it was some good stuff. It was just a matter of, and even introduced, now that I think about it, because there was like new characters introduced in that part of the universe that really has shown up, but they have shown up and they have really hadn't done with. But again, that is also a joint, DC problem in addition to him. So I don't know. I would have to think about that a little bit more in order to be able to form a cogent answer to it. So
Right, because I feel like at least I only have a very cursory knowledge about the recent Milestone stuff. My knowledge starts way back, right? And then I lost track of it when they kind of did their reboot, I guess it was, like relatively recently.
Right, and which is the stuff there was
Exactly. So I don't know creatively where they've been, because I know I've read articles and I've heard I think I heard some talk on a panel about some of the Milestone characters and where they're looking to go and looking to restart some of the properties. And I think that that current Static book, I think, is probably like a toe in the water, for that stuff.
Which they've been doing, right? Because the current which I will talk about in a little bit. Yeah, the Batman Beyond and Static book
Right.
that is currently going on. Which, like I said, one issue came out this week. Yeah, so they have definitely been doing things since then, and especially with Static and something that's actually coming up, which we will talk about in the news section. That comes off of another thing that has already come through, like I said, with teasing things or whatever. But the info is out there on some of that stuff. So, yeah, like I said, I feel like that is also a question that doesn't really get asked to other properties, honestly. Or with the publishers at large for other stuff. Like, I'm not sure. Like I said, and I could be wrong, but it's like sometimes I see a question like that, and it's usually reserved for situations like this, and that doesn't seem right to do. I'm not saying that the person that asks is doing that, but like I said, it could be asked in a lot more other places than just in this particular situation. So
Right. There's a little bit of a follow-up in there too.
yeah, I'm about to read it. So shouldn't they just separate from DC? I think they should get another physicist as CEO, partner with Black entrepreneurial organizations and economists, as well as sponsorship from clothing excerpt like Techstarter. I think
It's
there's an
hard
assumption.
being independent, right? It's hard to be an independent published, like on their own. There are several, and there have been several recent attempts to start, independent publishing. I think
Right.
there is a definite benefit to holding on to that partnership with DC and that continued connection with DC.
Right.
I get the frustration, I do,
Yeah.
but it's not easy out there. It's definitely not easy in this climate. It's not.
Especially since there are absolutely independent black and other folks publishers out there that you barely hear anything out unless you're just actively seeking that out, because they don't have as much as I hate to say it, they don't have the cachet that DC and Marvel has. That doesn't mean that people are not coming across them. They do, just not in the amounts that you would want them to and wish they would be in that space. So to answer the question, no, I don't think they should separate, because again, it was a thing that was started at DC in the first place. So why would that even be the case? But some of the stuff that you mentioned could still happen if that was the case, but I don't see what that does for them. You know what I'm saying? I don't see that doing anything for them, even past or present, that's going to make the brand any more viable. Like, yeah, like I said, merch stuff, they could do that already if the push was given to them. But I don't see what, aligning with tech startups and whatnot is going to do for them. That makes no sense to me at all. But yeah, I don't know. Everybody, folks have their opinions, and there might be something. Right. There might be something to some of that.
Directions, right? There are multiple directions they can still take, right? There definitely some avenues that they can pursue to really try to expand the market. Because, listen, American comics, if you ask me, are a constantly shrinking market, right? Putting out of these new comics, any kind of attempt to put out comics is just trying to take a bite out of a consistently shrinking market, right? Like we were just talking before about how DC is restarting Vertigo. Well, how many, how big is this comic book marketplace? And we're talking about putting out these non-superhero books that have historically had a difficult time gaining market share.
Mm-hmm.
Who is buying these? Are they going to be able to tap into like non-comic book marketplace, into like the marketplace outside the comic book marketplace, like the bookstore marketplace, the people who are still reading quote unquote graphic novels for fun, as opposed to collecting collected editions. So it's like I said, I hate to harp on this, because this is like a more of an overarching theme. Like, yeah, this comic book marketplace is really small, right? And they're taking, there are big chunks taken out of it because of manga, because of online web comics or webtoons. Not that that's as big a chunk, but there's still that still affects the overall market size and the market shares that could still be available.
Right. I think part of the bottom line is, well, two parts of the bottom line. One, it is a bigger problem than just what Agent 70 said, because that is indeed part of the issue. So it is one that can be laid in a bunch of different places. Like yes, you have the comic book shops, and depending on where you are, they're only going to give shine to the
what
big
sells.
two. Right, to what sells in the big two.
No, to what sells, right.
Well, that too, but still, but there are some of them that won't push certain other books because, well, hey, people in this market like Batman, and they're going to push the Batman, and this and that, or won't even, in some cases, again, depending on the area, depending on the people, this is not just an all around thing, but it is a part of the problem. Like, oh yeah, this one book from these independent folk, who's going to buy that? Whatever, one of the case, but two, also if it's from certain people, they're not going to, even give it the time of day, because, well, it's from them. Who cares?
And we've talked about, just hold that thought. We've talked about how manga has really, taken up so much of the marketplace. There is still plenty of comic book shops that don't even have manga sections, because they can't afford to keep a reasonable sized library in stock,
right?
To sell. That's just it's just a matter of what they think they're able to sell.
Right. Right, and then as you step up, like I said, yeah, on the ground level, here's the market shop, like I just said, and then of course there are the publishers who are like, well, bottom line is this. Again, case in point. Here's Batman. Oh, Batman sells because we got a million fucking books about him, so we're just gonna throw more of it out there. What about these other colored books around here? Who cares? You know, we'll put them out just to say we're putting them out, but we're not going to put any backing behind them because whatever. We put it out. We did our job. That's probably that could be a thinking, and it goes on from there. Again, some of the stuff you're mentioning here, sure, those are good ideas if those could happen, but that's where part of the problem is also. Like that's stuff that's not just going to easily happen. Which is like, hey, I got this book, you know, I need to answer to them. Like, well, we don't know who you are, what you do, or you're not a part of these big two also. So you can't just come in and say, yeah, I got this thing, it's going to be big. It was like, okay, but again, we don't know if that's going to sell. We're looking at our bottom line. We don't know about all of that. We invest in you for something that no one knows about.
Right. And partner and listen, partnering with the gaming space is just as hard because that gaming space is expensive. The gaming space studios fold left and right
because of corporates. Yeah, because of
but they're hard to develop because they're expensive. So
well, yes and no, because yes, but it depends on the type of game you're doing. Because the indie game space is pretty thriving, but the problem is it's still an indie gaming space in that if you have the wherewithal, you know, and hopefully either some backing and enough people can that even see it, but games come out all the time, and whether people get eyes on them or see them or can't see them,
right? Because of the ability to distribute through Steam,
right? And the big publishers are like, oh no, we're just going to go with the stuff that already sells, and here's the stuff like, oh, here's Fortnite, here's the big open world stuff, because people love that, even though it's not always true, or whatever Souls like, or whatever big thing that we can push in front of people's faces that we may or may not, you know. Here's names brands. You know, they don't give enough of a push to smaller titles like they used to when they were smaller. It's all about, and the corporations are being run by folks who halfway the time don't even play games. They're just thinking, how can we make money off of this? That's the bottom line. That, you know, and that's why we see another reason why we see studios folding, because it's like, okay, we got the game out there, great, you did us some numbers, but we're not this okay, not enough that we care for that's going to be any better than another version of this other game, Call of Duty or whatever the case may be, that comes out every year that we don't have to put much into because it's a name that people are going to buy. And that's again goes back to what people buy, which are those games that are, you know, which are those kind of games. So it's an Ouroboros kind of, but that is going far away. That is going a bit ways from where we are. Appreciate you being in chat though, and bringing up a thing. And yes, AAA is expensive as hell. That is also true. But you know, like I said, the indie market is out there. It's just like with the indie market and comic books. You kind of got to look for it. The stuff, especially if it's on Steam, because there's like tons of games on Steam. A percent rises up enough to where people will see some of it, thanks to streaming and whatever the case may be. It's
right. Exposure through podcasts, exposure through other, you know, media that might be reviewing these games.
Right.
That's what, you know, it's such a tough market. And if you think about how hard it is to get one of these little indie games up and running, and trying to coordinate that with an indie comic book property that, you know, or a related indie comic book property that's going to be
happen.
Connected to, you know, but just let me finish. That's connected to the gaming space, and trying to coordinate all that takes money. It's expensive to try to put that all together, because, you know, and to circle back to something that Roddykat was quick to mention, because it's facts. They're just facts. The comic book stores are running on such small margins that they're only willing to take risks on certain things. And if they do see this property connected to a game, you know, it depends on, you know, word of mouth. It depends on what kind of you know, what kinds of popular opinions are out there on it. It's not an easy thing to pull off. I agree, that's probably a strategy that can be explored. I think that's a strategy that should, be an avenue for indie properties to try to, gain market share. But yeah, I still think that that's a difficult road to follow.
Right. It's not. That's definitely not a. It could very well work and probably will and does, but it's not a hard and fast. Yeah, this is going to work all the time. No, it's not how gaming or comics work. From what we've seen. So, but that being the case, like I said, appreciate you being in the chat.
Yeah, no, that was a good conversation
Yeah.
because that definitely made us think a little bit about what people are doing in comic books and other related spaces. Because both Roddykat and I deal with local comic shops that have had to diversify in order to stay afloat.
True.
They don't just sell comics, and that's constantly what I think about. Like being in New York City, yeah, I have access to Midtown Comics, and they sell mostly comics and toys and shirts and merchandise and memorabilia, but that's the exception, not the rule in terms of what pays the bills.
Right.
What pays the rent. So,
right. And Agent 70 is in the area where, in relation to me, have more comic book shops per capita, and they have to stand out one way, shape, or form. Because they even have a chain that is a big chain that people know about. Here, I can say there's less than a handful in my area. As a matter of fact, yeah, I stand behind it. There's like 3. Technically, well, 2 technically, and there's another one I think it's and that's not counting like say Second and Charles or something like that. We're talking about just comic book shops. And as Adrian said, they have to diversify because matter of fact, mine's, as I told him like probably a couple of weeks ago, mine's is about to expand into like music stuff because they already do like comic books, they already do figures, and they already do like they have a section for like novels and like a small section for DVDs and whatnot that they get and whatnot. So they're doing that again, just because it's kind of a thing they have to do.
Listen, my local comic shop opened a juice bar because they gotta pay. Nice. They gotta come up with something to pay them rent.
Yeah. Some.
And the juice bar is pretty successful.
And you know what? And that's kind of what I think that takes. And it makes sense. Like that's kind of thing that kind of can go in hand to hand. Like like granted. You wouldn't go one. Obviously, you wouldn't go into one after coming out of the other.
It's in the same shop.
I know that, but what I'm saying is like you're going into the juice bar and then going directly into the comic shop. They're going to be like, hey, you can't come in with that or whatever. So I usually probably be the other way around, but still a thing. And as a matter of fact, I feel like there's one a place that's like that in Philadelphia that kind of did a similar thing, like when they opened. I think it's a Malcolm.
It was a coffee shop.
Yes. Yes,
I want to say it was a coffee shop. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. So so that is the thing.
That they ended up closing.
Did they?
So, yeah.
Amalgam closed?
They did.
Oh, shit.
I want to say they closed, and I want to say it was related to the pandemic. Or just soon after the pandemic.
And that was a whole other current thing. That's a problem. But we're slowly getting past that. So there's a lot of things that closed because of the pandemic. So there is that. But yeah, anyway, that being the case, like I said, we are going to keep pushing on here because actually we were finished the books that we have in common, and we are going to get into the rapid fire review.
What's next?
All right, rapid fire.
I ain't got time to bleed.
All right, first up for me in rapid fire reviews is Batman #6. It's written by Matt Fraction with art by Jorge Jimenez. Colors are by Tomo More. Letters are by Clayton Cowles and Jorge Jimenez. So this is definitely a candidate for Kliq of the Week for me. I definitely enjoy Fraction's Batman because there are elements that are lighthearted as well as very much deeply rooted in the current continuity of Batman. And I feel like this is the way books that are not looking to be weighed down by continuity, but are definitely utilizing them, should be written. this is how stories should be told, especially when we're dealing with a continuity that is, just so heavy. There's a lot of baggage here. And I think that Fraction is doing a very good job of, kind of maneuvering with that baggage, creating new baggage because he's got a couple of new concepts and new characters to introduce, but, as well as incorporating some big things in the Batman corner of the universe that are happening, specifically dealing with some two specific Robins, one being Tim Drake. There's a big thing that happens with Tim Drake in this issue, and it was in comic book news over the last several days. And obviously, we're still dealing with young Damian. So, there's a lot of good stuff going on in Fractions Batman. I do recommend it. This is definitely a candidate for Click of the Week for me. Next up is all new Spider-Gwen, the Ghost Spider #7. It's written by Stephanie Phillips with art by Paolo Villanelli. Colors are by Matt Miller and letters are by VC's Ariana Mar. In this issue, we are absolutely picking up where we left off, but Gwen is in a better place, in life, in her spidering career, and things, are never going to last in terms of the good times, because there's always going to be a bad guy coming sooner rather than later. This is the start of a new arc and a new interaction with a classic Spidey villain. Definitely fun. I'm very much enjoying Stephanie Phillips's take on this era of Spider-Gwen, the Ghost Spider. Next up is Amazing Spider-Man #21. It's written by Joe Kelly. That is an awkward little typo in my notes. I'm going to fix. Pencils are by John Romita Jr. and Todd Nauck. Inks are by Scott Hanna and Todd Nauck. Colors are by Marcio Meniz, Marte Gracia, and Eric Arciniega. And letters are by our favorite lettering paisan, VC's Joe Caramagna. In this issue, we finally get the return of one Peter Parker. We finally see where this storyline may be wrapping up, and we're starting up with a renewed direction, a renewed new direction for Norman Osborn. And, I've read the solicits for, I believe it would be April now, and I see where they're looking to go with Amazing and where they're going to go with the Spider-Man corner of the universe. So, this is leading into that with this upcoming Carnage and Venom crossover that's coming up as a bridge. So that's where we are with Amazing. Next up is Magik and Colossus #1 of 5. It's written by Ashley Allen with art by Herman Peralta. Colors are by Arthur Hesley and letters are by VC's Ariana Mar. This is a 5-issue limited series. This is part of the Shadows of Tomorrow wave direction for these newer launch titles coming out of Age of Revelation. And I just wanted to catch up with Peter and Ileana. And, I actually picked this up physically. I don't know if I'm going to be keeping up with this. I would ask Roddykat to just take a look at this book and see if he wanted to stick with it. But at least from my perspective, I don't know if this is something that I'm going to stick with past the first, maybe even second issue. But we'll see where we are after issue 2.
I definitely want to check it out. That's that I just didn't get a chance to do it this week though.
Right. It's really much more of a I like these characters. I want to see what they're up to.
Mm-hmm.
In a similar vein, Storm, Earth's Mightiest Mutant #1 of 5 is written by Murewa Ayodele with art by Federic Manson. Colors are by Hava Tartaglia and letters are by VC's Travis Lanham. So we're picking up right where we left off with the previous 12-issue series that Moreo Ayodele did with Storm. And, there's really not much of a gap here in terms of the storytelling. So it was a little bit difficult for me to pick up because I don't remember what happens at the end of the previous series. I have a vague recollection of skimming it, and that's probably my fault. So I think that's probably the only downside. I think it's relatively new reader friendly because I think I was kind of handicapped by trying to remember what happened in the previous story and not sort of taking in what was happening in this issue and seeing what direction they might be going in. But there's enough of that in this book to help kind of show what direction this book might be going in, especially given a pretty cool guest star that pops up in the middle of this issue. Next up is Ultimate Endgame number 2 of 5. That's written by Dennis Camp. The Outside the Dome story is has art by, that is, Terry and Rachel Dodson. The art inside the dome has art by Jonas Sharp. Colors for the Outside the Dome storyline are done by Terry Dodson. Colors inside the dome are done by Edgar Delgado. And letters for the book are done by VC's Corey Petit. Yeah, this is a little bit bonkers, this issue. There's a lot of timey-wimey, time dilation, things going in and out of phase, characters who don't necessarily affect what's going on outside of the dome, but affect only what's happening inside the dome because there's a barrier going on. There's a lot of stuff here. I think this is going to read a lot easier in a collected form. Last but not least is Uncanny X-Men number 23. It's written by Gail Simone with art by David Marquez. Colors are by Matthew Wilson and letters are by VC's Clayton Cowles. This is another candidate for Kliq of the Week for me. I like Gail Simone's X-Men because the story is very small. I know these X books are always going to be subject to crossovers, but I feel that the more insular storytelling in Uncanny is fun. I like the group that's that it focuses on. They're obviously a group of fan favorites, and I think that the writing of the new characters, the new younger X-Men, or the new they're not X-Men yet. We'll just call them like the newer New Mutants, who are the trainees in this book. I think are much. The writing on them is very fun, and I get a kick out of reading it. I don't know what Roddykat's feeling on that would be, but I definitely think that this is a candidate for Kliq of the Week for me. And that's it for my books this week.
Yeah, I enjoyed the younger crew. I just hadn't caught up with the X books yet. That's a totally a me issue at that, because
Sure.
once they had that that event they did early on and
Right.
and other things kind of threw things off for me. So, but yeah, I want to get back to it, especially the Uncanny, because I kind of enjoyed that book actually a good bit. So for myself, I was going to throw in a soundbite here, but I'll just put that in a post. We start off with Thundarr the Barbarian, written by Jason Aaron, with art by Cooper Ball, colors by George Sutil, and letters by Taylor Esposito. So, if you're of a certain vintage, you know the name of Thundarr the Barbarian, the old Hanna-Barbera cartoon from the 80s. Yes, that used to come on Saturday mornings. You know, Thundarr the Barbarian, Ookla the Mok, and Princess Ariel. You know them. This book starts off with the same little recap that the same kind of opening, or a similar kind of opening that the cartoons used to, with a slight alteration, of course. But then it goes into the main story, which is Thundarr and the crew get wind of some doings, some folks that have to do with slave labor. So they go and investigate it, and which gives way to a bigger plot by some, as I told Agent 70, if you are familiar with the show in a little bit, there might be a couple of familiar names that show up. You would have to be kind of familiar with the show. Now, granted, one of them, you see one of them, you will see them in the opening of the show, but you may not know what their name is if that's all you've seen of the show. But like I said, I've seen enough of the show to where I was like, oh yeah, I know those. I've seen those names. I've seen those episodes where those people show up, So this is actually kind of an extension of the show, or I guess in the same, maybe in the same timeline of the show, kind of in a way, because like I said, they some people are in they're behind it are from the show basically. So and they do reference the fact that, oh yeah, we've dealt with Thundarr once or twice in the past. So here's our latest plot to deal with that situation in this. So, like I said, if you're a fan of the property, it's might be good to an interesting read, because there's a lot of that going on lately because of there is a fire brewing for that kind of nostalgia and licensing that people are taking advantage of, as we will find out in a little bit. The next book for myself is, and I'm probably going to have to do this one later also, so that's great. Oh, here we go. Flash Gordon number 15, written by Jeremy Adams, art by Eder Messias and Tom Derenick, colors by Lee Luffridge, and letters by Taylor Esposito. So this is the last issue of the book for this creative team, but it's not the end of the book, as I come to find out. The things have been put back into place, so the toys are put back in the box, and even actually some would argue stored away for an indefinite period, but we don't know. So in April, there's going to be a 0 issue with the new creative team, and issue number 16 is going to come out in, I believe, May with the new creative team. So whatever that 0 issue that comes out in April is going to set the tone of Flash's continuing story, which takes him away from basically familiar ground in a way, or let's say away from one familiar ground, which again has been put back in the box, and back to potentially another place where he hasn't been in a while because of the nature of the book. If you know enough about Flash Gordon, you'll kind of get it once you read this book, or you might know about it already. Who knows? This is a property that was definitely brought back for more vintage folks. And hoping to catch some younger folks in the process, which we'll see.
Sure.
But the next book, speaking of crossovers and properties that are pretty much already aligned, Gargoyles and Darkwing Duck, number 1 of, I believe, 5. Actually, I forgot to look and see how many, but I believe it is 5. Plot and main cover by Tad Stones, who co-creator of, I believe, Darkwing Duck, and I think Gargoyles, I can't remember. Plot and script by Greg Weisman and Tad Stones. Art by Ciro Cangialosi. I hope I pronounced that right. I apologize if I didn't. Colors by Ciro Cangialosi and Agnes Eterno. And letters by Jeff Eckelberry. So yeah, crossover between the two already pretty much in the same universe. Properties. As the book says at the beginning, the official Darkwing Duck and Gargoyles Disney Afternoon Team Up crossover comic book miniseries event. That is the first words that comes out of that start this book off. So yeah, so into crossover, which is also kind of weird because it brought to mind something that I didn't think of. Well, that I did think of, but didn't really think of that fully until I read this issue. Because if you know about the Disney Afternoon, anthropomorphic animals doing things, and of course you have gargoyles on the other side of that, or in the vein of that, but they never the two shall mix until this. So And I say that because Darkwing Duck, Saint Canard, a bunch of animals, anthropomorphized animals, whatnot. Q in this issue, him and crew going to New York City, where Gargoyles is set, and meeting the Gargoyles, and also being exposed to humans, which apparently, as funny as it was, like, I will spoil this. Darkwing Duck was pretty much more shook about seeing the Gargoyles than he was going up against some criminals that he rolled up on when he got to New York. And the reason why he ends up going to New York is because of a thing that has to do with, if you know Darkwing Duck, he has a boo thing who gets kidnapped by a Gargoyles adversary, or potential adversary. Sometimes adversary, let's put it that way. And it's not the main one you might think about, but it is definitely another gargoyle who is who has been apparently known for causing trouble. I'm also saying this not having watched a lot of gargoyles, but I have read these books, so therein lies that. So the meetings happen, crossover kind of goes on, and at the end of the book, we kind of see where the plot's going to end up going. Or what the plot has to do with, let's put it this way. And of course, Darkwing Duck says his, versions of his spiel, as he tends to do. He didn't say let's get dangerous though, so I assume that's going to happen next issue. We shall see. Next up, though, Batman Static Beyond number 3 of 6. Again, we were talking about this earlier. Story by Evan Narcisse, art by Miguel Mendoza. Colors by Will Quintana, and letters by Wes Abbott. So in the aftermath of their first meeting with the new meta, depending on which side you're coming from. It's on the DC side, it's meta. On the Milestone side, it's Bang Baby, that was just created in the course of the story. Things didn't go well last issue, put it this way, because thanks to Terry trying to be Batman, which he is Batman, yes, but he tries to do a Batman thing and it didn't go well and screwed up things. So he's spent half of this issue, trying to work that out. But also, you have folks like Static and of course Rocket, who is now the mayor of Dakota, on the other side, trying to clean up after what happens. The new Bang Baby / meta that is walking around with trying to get a grasp of their powers and kind of screwing stuff up for folks. Kind of goes home to chat with the parents because there was parental issues there also, but also goes to visit what I'm just going to call Dakota's X-Men school at the end of this, and gets a very warm welcome. So, this has been a pretty interesting read. Again, it is set in the Batman Beyond universe, so therefore technically the DC universe, future universe, I guess. So you got Grown Up Static and of course Batman Beyond and what goes on there. So yeah, if you're interested in that, check it out. It's like I said, been a pretty good, decent read. Next up, Absolute Green Lantern number 11, written by Al Ewing, art and colors by Janor Lindsay, and letters by Lucas Gattoni. So if you're watching the video version, you can see there's some red business going on, and yes, that person does show up in this book a couple of times. A character gets caught up because they've been kind of out of things for a good minute. And if you know anything about Green Lantern, you kind of know who would be the upfront person would be, even though they are not the focal point of this story. But they wake up and kind of get caught up on what's going on, just in time to for folks to be going after them. And things happen in this book, which, like I said, even if I gave them away, you would have to know what's going on in the absolute version to know what the deal is, because there's a little bit of mumbo jumbo that goes on in this book at times. This issue not as much, but there's a little bit. So, but but we love Al Green. I mean, Al Green. Well, I do love some Al Green, but still, but Al Ewing in this particular case. So I'm keeping up on it because it's still a pretty good read, a pretty great read. So
Feeling brand new, are we?
a little bit, simply beautiful. Also, and the last book that I have goes back to some DC bonkers. DC and AEW at number 1. Now, I am the last person who should have read this book. I'm just going to be honest with you. And if you've been watching the show or listening to the show for a while, you kind of know why. 1, not really a sports person. 2, definitely not a wrestling person. So therein lies that. But this book had me curious because I was thinking it was a part of DC K.O. and it is not. But it is written by Steve Orlando, with art by Travis Mercer, colors by Andrew Dahlhaus, and letters by Josh Reed. So, yes, crossover between AEW, the Wrestling Federation, and DC Comics goes like, hey, the Justice League, there's apparently at the beginning of this, some match happened, some wrestling match happened specifically, which kind of goes a certain way. Then the Justice League gets called in for cleanup and investigation. And of course, the AEW faction kind of come into play, and there's a crossover / team up that happens, much to the chagrin of some folks that having to do with. Again, as I told Age of 70, there's a lot of names in here I have no idea about, but there's also 1 or 2 that I kind of do know for one reason or another. Actually, I don't think Kenny Omega showed up in this book, now that I think about it. But folks will be happy to know, if you are into wrestling, there is a swerve that happens at the end of this book, in a way. Or at least I'm calling it a swerve. I don't know if it is actually one, but it's kind of one that, like, sure, of course that happened. In relation to the 2 franchises that are coming together for this. So if any of that is of any interest to you, sure, by all means, check it out. It's kind of silly and dumb, personally, for similar reasons to that boss battle book, but more so dumb and stupid, So, and that is it for my books. Kliqs of the week.
Kliqs of the week.
I don't know. Like I said, the stuff I didn't get to read, I feel like I would have probably had a better feel for potential Kliqs of the week if I had gotten around to some of the stuff that Agent 70 read that I did not. However, I do have a couple of candidates that from what I do have, one of which being Thundarr the Barbarian. Actually, there's a couple of Turtles books I didn't get a chance to read also, but that's a whole nother thing. Gargoyles, Darkwing Duck is the other one, is another one, excuse me. And I mean, Nova Centurion, continues to be pretty good. I'm not sure if that one's going to make make it, but that is definitely on the list of potentials. Avengers, usually pretty good. Always, usually, at this point, good. But I don't know. I don't know if that's gonna also do it on this one. I have to think about it a little bit. And probably Absolute Green Lantern, but I can't. Yeah, I'm at this point. I'm not. And I'm thinking that's good. It's probably going to be like one of the first 2/3. Batman Static Beyond also was good, but like I said, I don't want to just be adding books to be adding books.
Sure.
So. What about you?
I think I've got 2 clear candidates. Batman number 6, Uncanny X-Men number 23.
Okay.
Those are probably my clear favorites, with the all new Spider-Gwen, the Ghost Spider number 7 coming in 3rd. I think I'm just going to pick Batman number 6. I think that is a pretty good choice for Kliq of the week for me this week.
Okay. Not a problem there, I guess. So let's put that in there. For myself, I think probably the easiest one is definitely and is the one that's going to be is Gargoyles Darkwing Duck #1. Like I said, it was a fun read. I was like, yeah, okay. It makes sense. It makes sense, but also doesn't make sense that these two properties together. Because again, they're both Disney properties. They both had afternoon shows, but they never crossed over. As far as I know, definitely, when they were live on the air. And like I said, the questions that it brought up in this case when it did was kind of funny. But again, this is going to be another crossover that just another crossover. This is one that makes more sense than say like Gargoyles Fantastic Four from a couple of weeks ago. Or as much, I guess you say. Which actually reminds me, really quick before we move on. Neither one of us read Planet of the Apes versus Fantastic Four, but that is a book that did come out this week. Just to tell you, just to kind of throw that out there. And of course, there was also ways that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Godzilla book, which, like I said, I forgot to I didn't forget, but I didn't get a chance to read, I should say. So,
right.
Like I said, some stuff still out there I wanna check out from this week, but yeah, Thundarr, go for it. But that being said, folks, we are going to go into the news section. But first, an ad read.
Alrighty, our first ad read of the night is for Blue Apron's meal delivery service. Blue Apron, fresh ingredients and incredible recipes delivered weekly to your door. Skip the grocery store and make incredible meals at home with Blue Apron, always shipped free right to your home. And now the listeners of the Comic Book Chronicles can get $30 off your first Blue Apron order. To place your first order with $30 off and to help keep our show free for you, go to our network website at cspn.us, that's cspn.us, then click on the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down to the Blue Apron link and sign up for your first order. Blue Apron through cspn.us. Do it today! And now we get into the news.
I apologize for bringing this back up here now, but there's something I totally forgot about earlier when we were talking about the topic. But yeah, you can look at the Skybound stuff, and they're doing their thing, but also, with Invincible and whatnot, and the Energon universe and what potentially could be coming. But again, that is a thing that's probably only going to happen a certain kind of way with how they not every indie is going to be able to have that kind of resourcing with those. And I guarantee you,
I was about to say with licensed with licensed characters as well.
Well, and it's their stuff. Well, specifically on the Invincible stuff, that is their stuff.
Right.
So, but yes, but the Energon stuff and the Transformers, yes, that is also definitely true. But also, it's like if indies had the market share that the big two had, yes, we would see because I have seen some people it's like, yeah, indie stuff is killing the big two. It's like, no, you just like that stuff, and they get it, and it's fine. It's great to like that stuff, but they're not really if you're looking at actual sales. But also, if they could really kill the big two by doing some of the stuff that was suggested earlier, they probably would have been by now, if they could. It's a fact. Well, it could be a fact anyway. Like I said, there are outliers. But anyway, cinematic news, as we tend to get to about this time. First up, I'm just going to go ahead and say spoiler kind of for Wonder Man. If you haven't watched it, or if you haven't watched the whole thing, it's been a week, so apologize. There might be a little bit of spoilers with this. Marvel secretly revives an MCU villain first set up in 2008, according to this article, and hints at major canon changes. I think this might be slightly a speculation piece. I'm fairly certain about this, but I'm not sure. So this article brings up Wonder Man episode 4, which was, if you didn't watch it, was the Doorman episode, or the Doorman origin or MCU origin story, which, man, that's still crazy. But also brings up that something that you might as well say was kind of a throwaway, but it got us from one place to the other. So the black goo that ends up turning Doorman into Doorman, which, sure, they're pulling this from it looks like, and I saw this and I almost mentioned it last week, but yes, Roxxon gets brought up because of that, and you can even see it if you're watching the video version. You see the image there. So, and this article kind of goes on to say that, you know, hey, presumably Roxxon is still around, which I don't see why they wouldn't be in the universe, because there's no reason why they wouldn't be. And also mentions Roxxon's place, you know, in the MCU at this point, and just a long drawn out, you know, thing and speculation that this article goes into, which you can read for yourself if you're so inclined. Next up.
Spoiler alert. Josh Gad had one condition to cameo as himself in Marvel's Wonder Man miniseries. So what was that condition? The actor explained in an interview with the LA Times that he was willing to play himself in the show only if it would not eliminate him from another role in the MCU in the future. That makes sense.
I mean, sure. Yeah. I mean, granted, it wouldn't be it slightly wouldn't be the first time that a similar thing would have happened. But also, you know, hey, we've had a couple of people take multiple roles in, you know, Marvel adjacent stuff, whether in or out, you know, of MCU proper. But yeah, sure, that makes sense. So, which also kind of sucks and sad because I don't care that much for Josh Gad, but if this opens the, no pun intended, opens the door for him getting another part in the MCU, that part's kind of a suck. Anywho, next up, Mark Ruffalo breaks silence on rumors he's been fired as Marvel's Hulk. So let's see. Apparently, Ruffalo's got a new film out called Crime 101, which reunites him with Chris Hemsworth. And he was asked during an interview if he had been fired, which, to quote, "Not that I know of," Ruffalo replied. People keep going like, "Did you get fired?" "Not that I know of." Hemsworth chimed in on the rumors that his Thor Ragnarok co-star had been fired. "It's nonsense," he said. So I'm not going to do a Chris Hemsworth voice, but, you know. Ruffalo continued, adding a little tease that he may already be plotting his MCU return as Bruce Banner. Quote, "I'll be there as long as they'll have me, but I have a good relationship with them. Who knows? There might be some things I'm already doing that. I'm around. Let's just say that." Come on, you know he's going to be in.
Come on.
Yeah, that's like this. Now, that being said, the restraint, because we know Mark Ruffalo has spoiled some things in the past. So
the snipers, listen,
right.
the snipers have a beat on him.
Right. They are watching him closely. And even this article kind of says, it's like, Ruffalo, who is notoriously loose-lipped with MCU seekers, has not been announced as a part of Avengers Doomsday, but come on. Come on. He's either going to be in Spidey or Doomsday or both. Probably both, but who knows. Next up, though.
Oh my gosh. That's very funny. Let's see here. An official release date for the Maul Shadow Lord animated series from Lucasfilm Animation has has been released with the latest teaser trailer for Maul Shadow Lord. We finally have a confirmed release date of April 6th.
Yay.
What did you think of the trailer?
I did not watch it.
Oh, I have watched it. It's fun.
Really? I'm sitting here like, you know, as much as I love Star Wars stuff, there are some things that, you know, you don't necessarily have to go back to all the time or enough times. Like, I feel like they've brought back Maul one too many times for things, even though this is set in between some things, but still.
Sure.
That being said, I will still watch it. So, you know, I'm not one of those people who's like, "Oh, it sucks." Like,
right. It's not your. Yeah,
still,
I would say it's not an absolute necessity for you to watch the trailer. I get that.
Right. So, but also there are people who's like, oh, Star Wars is stupid, this, that, and the other, but still end up watching this stuff. So I'm like, y'all just shut up. So yeah, I don't know. I may still actually watch it just to watch the trailer, just to kind of get an idea of what they're gonna be touching on, if anything familiar. But we'll see. Next up, though, Bob Iger to step down as this report says. This is not nothing that's been confirmed. Bob Iger to step down as Disney CEO before the end of 2026. Again, this is a report. But it says here, Iger has told associates that he plans to step down as CCO and pull back from the daily management. If you can hear and see the air quotes, they're great. Before December 31st, 2026, which is the end of this contract, according to a report from the Wall Street Journal. And of course, which also cites, according to this article, anonymous sources, and it just goes into what the journal story says, and blah blah blah, third party, blah 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 blah, and it mentions the Jimmy Kimmel thing and some other stuff, and yeah, we'll see. If it happens, it happens. Next up.
All right. God of War, the live action adaptation, lands Emmy-winning Homeland stars Odin. Okay, so Amazon MGM Studios has revealed that Odin in the game will be played by Emmy winner Mandy Patinkin. Okay. So the God of War franchise is already cast. Ryan Hurst as Kratos. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
You got me.
So this is.
I was about to say I'll pull out the Who just for tradition's sake.
Who?
Well, yeah, it'll be a Who for Agent 70, but I know enough about this to have some thoughts about it. It's another live action adaptation for a video game, and this is the more current iteration of the thing, because there have been God of War games in the past, but this is the more current. It's kind of a retelling, but also kind of a not necessarily a reimagining, but and it's not necessarily a remake either, but I'll just keep it to the fact that it's kind of continuing the story, but there's kind of new elements in it, including the voice of Kratos, who is not the original voice. Which, granted, I hear good things about this game, and I've seen them being played. So this is basically, for those that know, God of Boy, not God of War, in which Kratos has a son, which is, like I said, the newer games and not the older games. So it'll be interesting how this plays out. But yeah, I don't know. Sure, it'll probably get watched. Next up, though, Baldur's Gate TV series continuing games story in the works at HBO from Last of Us co-creator Craig Mazin and Hasbro Entertainment. Sure, people love them some Baldur's Gate, and Baldur's Gate 3 is great. So, but yeah, HBO is developing Baldur's Gate, a drama series based on Wizards of the Coast video game franchise. But also, let's face it, hey, guess what? Game of Thrones did pretty good. Here's another fantasy thing that people actually that's also tied to video games. But with Mazin attached to create, write, executive produce, and showrun the TD adaptation. Also, executive producing are some other folks and folks with Hasbro. Yada yada. We don't necessarily need to go with that. Says unlike HBO's Last of Us, which retold the story from that game, but the Baldur's Gate series will be a continuation up to the games, telling a story that takes place immediately after the events of Baldur's Gate 3, which I have not finished. So okay, as the characters old and new are dealing with the ramification of the events of the third game. Hey, if you like if you like fantasy games, one. If you like BioWare's Dragon Age games, you might like Baldur's Gate. Just saying. And granted, Baldur's Gate has been around as a series longer than Dragon Age, but still, I'm pretty sure one has borrowed from the other. But anyway, so that's the thing, folks. Yeah, and this article just kind of goes on, but we will not. And to go to the next one with.
All right. Over 100 Latino actors, artists, and storytellers have signed an open letter to Hollywood calling to increase the presence of Latino voices in early stages of development and greenlighting rooms, as well as the amount of Latino actors in auditions and non-stereotypical lead roles. The letter comes shortly after Marty Supreme star Odessa Azion, dropped out of Sean Durkin's A24 film Deep Cuts, based on the novel by Holly Brickley and starring Drew Starkey and Kaylee Spaney. This is involving recent casting decisions around the character Zoe Gutierrez in A24's Deep Cuts. Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm reading the quote that was given. Yeah, I mean, let's face it. If it's much as we no, I say much I hate to say it. No, I don't hate to say it. You know what? There's a lot of stereotypical roles for anyone that is not white.
Yeah.
And so more of this absolutely needs to happen. So good on them, for that. Kong and Godzilla unite to fight Savage Titan X, which I know we talked about this last week, but I thought this was a different trailer than the one that was mentioned last week, but it might not be. So that was my fault for probably putting this in there if that's the case. And also I didn't watch that trailer. So yeah. But
I did watch it. It's actually pretty fun. I'm very, very, very glad we've got returning characters. Good to see Anna Sawai returning. Very thankful to see Anna Sawai returning.
Anyway, you see the transparency there, folks. Very thankful. February. Hey, look, but anyway, February 27th. That's coming up. So yeah, we will more likely be talking about it when that drops, because we both enjoyed that show. And now we get over to a little bit of comic book news. Anime news.
Alrighty. Jujutsu Kaisen's latest episode sets the stage for an epic fan favorite showdown. Episode 5 anticipates a vicious battle of wills between Yuji Itadori and Kinji Hikari.
Yeah, maybe
the last episode. Yeah, I was about to say that's obviously a spoiler for episode 5.
But also that's a week old episode at this point, but still.
Right. Last week's episode was pretty cool, I
still need to catch up. But
yeah, this culling game stuff is pretty wild. I definitely need to read the manga. There's a lot of characters, unfortunately. That's sometimes you can get lost in a lot of these stories. And
that is true.
Characters change their looks and you have to rely on them being called the same name. We do have people coming back in different forms. It's not uncommon in anime and manga. So, I'm actually very much convinced I need to read Jujutsu Kaisen, the manga.
I was about to say, I can't imagine it's going to be any less bonkers than the anime. But yeah, sure. Hey, if it gets you doing that, then it's doing something good.
Right.
Next up, though, Demon Slayer Infinity Castle's streaming debut may be further delayed, according to this article. So yeah, So, Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba Infinity Castle may not be getting an Academy Award nod this year, on a score to K-pop Demon Hunters, according to this article. But one of the highlight films of 2025 is still being celebrated in its native Japan, becoming the first anime to receive the IMAX treatment in the country. Although the film was released last summer, Castle is returning to theaters in Japan with an extended 1.431 aspect ratio, which probably means fans are still a ways away from the film coming home to digital and potentially even longer for it to hit streaming services.
They're killing me. They're killing me. I want to watch it again.
Or unless you are...
I know.
Unless you are, fluent in other ways of
right.
If you've
got friends who you might call matey.
Yes, indeed. Yes, if you sail the high seas, as some folks out there would say. But yes, such things are less of an issue. But
I want to watch it again. Like,
yeah,
for real.
I want to watch it in the first place, but that's just
Wait, seriously?
I still have not watched it. Yeah.
Have we gotten this far? You never watched Infinity Castle?
I absolutely have not. So, and I'm not sure because I'm caught up on the show, so I'm not sure what's outside of this. I guess what's keeping me from that one. Now that I think about it, or maybe actually I take it back. There might be something in that last arc I didn't watch, but I don't have to go back. But I think I'm caught up on that last arc. So either way, although the film will be only returning for 1 day in Japan on February 6th, which is a couple days from now, which is actually tomorrow, excuse me. Which is actually streaming to yesterday, just as the day we're recording this. Sorry. Infinity Castle is still busy making history. And according to the article, there's no rush to bring it into fans' homes if the audiences are still willing to see it theatrically. And I guess there's some truth to that, I guess. So let's see, there was a fan event that was on the January 24th. This article is like a week old, so yeah. But yeah, therein lies that, and speculation into when we might see a home release or streaming release. Yeah, it'll probably be springish, I would assume. But yeah, therein lies that. Next up, though, some bad news, but also not surprising news.
Streaming service Crunchyroll raises prices weeks after killing its free tier. I've already had to deal with this.
Mm-hmm.
Crunchyroll raised prices for its remaining tiers after it got rid of the free. The cheapest plan fan went from $8 a month to $10 a month. The mega tier, which allows for streaming from up to 4 devices simultaneously, went from $12 to $14. That's where I am. The ultra tier, which supports simultaneous streaming across 6 devices and includes access to the Crunchyroll Manga app, increased from $16 to $18. Ooh.
So before I saw this article, funnily enough, I was on Crunchyroll trying to see about putting a dent in my anime backlog, but also seeing when my subscription was going to come up to change to one of those new tiers, because I did see rumblings of this potentially happening already, and I was like, and the prices were already in place, which I don't know. From what I saw, it doesn't seem like they had added the manga stuff into the page where that shows the prices, because they still have a separate page for that. Mm-hmm. But still, yeah. Again, Crunchyroll, not a sponsor, but a thing we do use.
It's a tool, right? Yeah. It's a tool that we use so that we can bring you all this great content.
Something like that, yeah. But yeah, so yeah, this had been going around in the last few days about the prices being raised, and of course people have thoughts about it and whatnot, but guess what? I bet you they're still gonna be on it. Well, actually there are people, of course, which also comes about, I was like, well, instead of using this, use this. Which, viable. But also, sell the high seas also, but they're not saying that, but I'm saying people always, whenever something like this happens, they always bring up alternatives. They always bring up alternative sources, which also a lot of times don't have the same volume as a Crunchyroll has. Maybe partially, but not all the way. So yes, you can do that, but you're still not gonna get. And I think some of those, but I don't know. I hadn't looked into some of those places that were talked about. And I'm not saying you should. Hey, yeah, you should stick with Crunchyroll. You do what you feel is best. You know, for your wallet and your peace of mind. But let's face it, Netflix goes up every other year. People grouse about it and still stick with it. I can't see similar. Similar to, but to a lesser extent, because anime fans would be like, "No, I'm gonna pirate the shit out of this shit well before anything, with exception." So it's not a blanket thing, but it is a true thing. Anyway, that being the case, we are going to go into some comic book news. Yep.
All right, here we go. Dynamite, Thundercats, Silverhawks, #1. This is a preview. It's going to be out in April 2026. Yeah, we were talking about this, I believe, last week.
For a couple of weeks,
sale,
definitely last week. Yes.
All right, on sale date April 8th, 26. Thundercats, Silverhawks, crossing over. Issue #1. Catch it, man.
Yeah.
We got previews right here.
Mm-hmm. Which means, yeah. So, and which is weird to see a preview this quote far out, I guess, because normally you would, for some stuff, you would see it within the week or two of it. But you know, one, this was the thing we knew was coming, and it had been not only foretold in the Sword of Omens, but also in the books very heavily. So it was just a matter of time to
right.
see.
It's a preview / solicitation.
Right. So, you know, waiting for this, looking forward to it. And also, it's also kind of funny because it's like, yes, while it is a crossover, they're still in the same universe, which is always funny to me. And not necessarily close, but close enough. But apparently, let's see. According to this, what this says, let's see, variant covers as well as special piece of art of classic animation art. Let's see. Thundercats Silverhawks will also features 2 tremendously incentive editions, a special cover reproducing Declan Shalvey's original layout for the issue, and an autographed edition of Ben Oliver's cover signed by the Thundercats original series voice actor Larry Kinney. And yes, you know who the hell that is. And if you don't, I don't know what to tell you. But that is that, folks. Next up, going back to what I alluded to earlier, Superman just had his Dragon Ball Z moment, and this is, I guess, technically spoilers for DC K.O. #3 from last week. Was it last week or week before? One of the 2
weeks ago, I think.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, but basically, it's been out by now, so you know. Yeah. Actually, I just read that issue like a couple of days ago, which is kind of funny. But yeah, Superman basically had his DBZ-esque power up thanks to a similar character in his universe who is known for shouting out a thing. And I mean, if you can see the image here, you kind of know who it is if you know enough about DC to who was involved in this. And no, it was not a fusion. Kind of was, kind of not.
Kind of was.
Yeah. It's not fusion in the sense of 2 beings in together, but definitely some lending of power of power set, which I did not know that. Well, I guess we did know that person is good because they've done it.
Yeah,
he's done
it.
Right, but so yeah, therein lies that, and that stuff still carries over into the stuff from this weekend. The next issue of DC K.O., which is probably coming soon, I guess. I don't remember. But next up.
So, the new history of the DC Universe, the Dakota Incident, merges Milestone and DC Comics timelines in a bold event. Lex Luthor's role in the Dakota Incident is spotlighted, reshaping the origins of Milestone characters. Static and Dakota City heroes clash with the U.S. government, setting up high stakes for Milestone fans. Major Milestone creators and artists unite for this pivotal one-shot, hinting at more Milestone stories ahead. Speaking of, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, basically. But also, this kind of points back to that new history of DC universe that we talked about probably a month or two ago. And while the milestone stuff did get touched upon there, this kind of answered a question that came out of that, because it was like, okay, so they're basically doing another one of those strictly for the milestone stuff, which cool, and expanding on that just a little bit more, but it's still in that same format as the new history of DC Universe. So, but yeah, we'll be checking that out. Yeah, and a matter of fact, it points to, this article points to the previous book. I know Joseph Illich has been out there hyping this up, and I know final cutoff for this book I think was for, a few days ago. So if you did not, if you did not get your final get your order in for your comic book, you better hope they have enough. I would suspect you don't necessarily, if you have a fairly decent comic book shop, I don't think you have to worry about that too much. But getting pre-orders in for stuff like this is a great way of saying, hey, we want this book. So definitely do it when you can. And that's why that is why this is important for stuff like this, as it's kind of slightly what we alluded to, earlier with the discussion, but also it needs to go further with that higher up as well. But yeah, so that is the thing. When is the book coming out? Let's see. Oh yeah,
Couple of weeks.
yes,
End of the month.
Yep, February 25th is when this comes. When the first issue. Well, no, excuse me, it's a one shot. So when this issue comes out, so I will be looking forward to checking that out. Next up, though. Carol O'Neill joins Man Cave as director of marketing. So she replaces Allison Marie Pond, who was promoted to VP of marketing at Mad Cave.
Oh, we're jumping past the clearly labeled opinion piece.
Oh, actually, no. I think I forgot to. I didn't. That was actually slightly oversight. I'll do that one real quick though. But we'll finish this one up. So yeah. Yeah, that's why I labeled that an opinion paper. That I didn't intend to. Okay. I didn't intend to.
All right, so.
But yeah, like I said, yeah, there's an official statement here. We don't necessarily have to read it.
Okay.
Good for that person. Next up, though.
All righty, this is an official preview of Death Spiral variant connecting covers by Iban Coelho from Marvel Comics. This is that event I was talking about earlier, that bridge event. Now that Peter's back from space, and Norman is maybe doing Norman things, Norman Osborn, that is. So, we've got some variants here in a gallery, and some covers here in a gallery, and publishing schedule for these variant covers. It's a 9-part variant cover series.
People, sometimes people do love them some variant covers.
Look at the connected cover.
Actually, well, wait.
It's all the characters in the crossover, highlighted, but there is one kind of big image that connects them all.
Oh yeah, I think I was. Whoops, there's that. So there's Mary Jane. There's that dude. Don't know who that is. There's other Venom, it's gonna be Carnage, whatever. Shocker, Electro. Wait, no, that's Shocker. Excuse me.
Shocker.
Yeah, I don't know. They've always. I was like, why did they need two similar characters like that? But that's never stopped anything.
Yeah, I was about to say they're not that similar, but I get it.
Yeah, they're similar.
Yeah, no, that first image is the big kind of poster image right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, which cool. Yeah. Don't care about it, but okay. It's a thing. It's coming.
It's fair.
Yeah.
It's fair.
It's a thing. It's coming whether we want it or not. So, I just want them to get rid of symbiotes just for a while, or if not indefinitely. I don't know, but Ugh. Anyway, Image Comics. Going back to this real quick. Image Comics just released the greatest single issue in modern comic book history. That was the opinion piece. This has to do with a book called Assorted Crisis Events by Dennis Camp and Eric Zawadzki. So I don't know what this book about, but apparently this article seems that this is as this says, an absolute knockout masterpiece. And they even claim that it isn't hyperbolic to call it a book, which I'm going to go ahead and say yes, it is. I have not read this book yet or any parts of the book, but I'm going to say it is. You can't stop me. But the actual story that I want to get to is Marvel unleashes 20+ Doctor Doom homage covers to celebrate the villain who still rules the universe. Which, nani? But yes, according to this article, Doctor Doom's shadow still looms large over the Marvel universe after One World of Doom, as new variant covers are on the way. Let's see. Marvel is celebrating Victor Von Doom's unmatched legacy with a new wave of Doom homage variant covers arriving this March. Of course, because also, we got a little movie that's coming out that may be showcasing a version of Vic. Just saying. So yeah, here's all of. What's that?
I said, you think?
Mm-hmm. So yeah, all of the books and when they're going on sales and the covers they're in. If you're watching the video version, you can see me kind of scrolling past the ones. I do like that Dazzler one, which is kind of funny. Of course, there's an homage to Iron Man and Doctor Doom. The Uncanny X-Men is doing. So there's Thor, there's Storm one, Magik And Colossus, Black Cat. Oh, right, that's that Squirrel cover. See, there's Avengers. The Amazing Spider-Man one that's actually also kind of funny. And others, and the homages therein. That Scarlet Witch Secret Wars one is actually pretty good too. So yeah, many upon plenty. Okay, I'm just gonna.
That Spider-Man one is good. Bow
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Doom.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's what I was saying. So there's a couple of good variants in there. Whether I'll get any of them, I don't know. But yeah, some of them look pretty good. Next up, though.
Alrighty. Masters of the Universe movie action figures have been revealed with the first look at He-Man, Skeletor, and more. This is by Mattel. Mattel has revealed its line of action figures for the upcoming Masters of the Universe movie. The first official images and details for the figures were released by Entertainment Weekly, which landed the exclusive reveal. And the collection offers a surprisingly clear preview of how the cinematic version of Eternia is shaping up. The figures fall under the banner Masters of the Universe Chronicles, and while the exact scale wasn't specified, they appear to hover around the 6-inch range. Each figure reportedly features roughly 30 points of articulation, so they're built for posing, staging battles, and probably recreating a few dramatic slow-motion hero shots. So yeah, this is, in the vein of, the Marvel Legends line, the DC, like the McFarlane era figures, probably closer to the Marvel Legends. From the proportions, it looks like 6 inches, like as the article states.
Mm-hmm. As I am scrolling through, if you're watching the video version, you can see. Okay, they made Triclops black. Not that that matters anything, but that's funny. Okay, there's.
Oh, you mean Man at Arms?
No, Triclops. But yes, we know. Yeah, that just.
Oh, Triclops! I just got to Triclops.
Right. Yeah. Let's see, there's Evil Lyn. Is that supposed to be the sorceress or Evil? That looks more like Evil Lyn. Anyway,
I think that's Evil Lyn.
Yes. And of course there are the live action characters with their figures. There's Camila Mendez. Yay. I'm gonna just go ahead and say, you know what? Mans looks a little scrawny. The dude playing He-Man, and the figure also. But yeah. I guess I should be glad that we don't have a picture of Jared Leto with his figure. yes, the hate still continues. Next up,
Shots fired.
as we continue on to Toy Corner, Hasbro lands the Street Fighter license, which, hey, to all our one, did not know they didn't have this already, honestly. According to this article, let's see. They will be producing new Street Fighter toys just in time for the new movie, of course. While the movie was mentioned, no specific language used to say that this is only movie-based. We could only get Hasbro's take on the classic versions of the game. And if we are all lucky, according to this article, some crossovers from the old days with G.I. Joe and others. That was a full stop there. My apology. Yeah, I mean, I don't, this is Hasbro. I don't doubt at all that there's going to be some crossovers with the other Hasbro properties. In fact, I think there already is some already before even that, because I feel like that might have been what led to this, honestly. Because I feel like if there's not, there was probably there were some Transformers figures that was Street Fighter crossover or something or other. I don't know. I had to go back and look. Regardless, that's the thing. They're happening. That's so till all are one, Hasbro, as the dude from as the dude online would say. Next up, though,
Wizards of the Coast reveals product line details for Magic the Gathering Marvel superheroes. It is not overpower.
no, it is not. It is definitely not that line.
The highly anticipated second Marvel set offers both collectors and players an array of SKUs to dig through. Wizards of the Coast apparently listened to fan feedback about their decision not to include commander decks in the Marvel Spider-Man set. In response, this set includes not only 4 new commander decks for this set, but also 4 collector's edition versions of those decks. Wizards of the Coast also included Jumpstart boosters to the mix for this set, as well as their new Draft Night boxes. Okay.
Well, one, yeah, the lack of commander decks was not the only thing that people were complaining about, but also, it is also still one of those situations like, oh, they're doing too much. That's not the Magic, but also people are still buying stuff up like crazy. And yeah, I guess this is the second set because the Spider-Man set is the first set technically, but the Secret Lair was before that, but that's not a set. That's just so here's some collector cards. And yeah, we already talked about the 4 commander decks, so we don't necessarily need to go back on that. And I'm so glad they're doing Jumpstart boosters. And yes, I may have already pre-ordered some of these things. Thank you very much.
So each pack has 20 Magic cards. 2 packs can be shuffled together to make a deck and play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jumpstart is a very easy way to get in to Magic. I mean, granted, you still have some learning to do, but still, like I said, if you just want to, well, how do I just jump in? Which is, there you go. Well, I started that. How do I get in on this without having to know how to put a deck together and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Jumpstart is a pretty way to get. So I'm very glad that they are continuing with that thing. And yes,
It's not overpower, folks.
No, it is not overpower. Yes, indeed. But yeah, like I said, stuff's coming, and I think it's like June-ish. When that stuff's coming, I can't remember. It's fairly soon. I know. But anyway, yeah, catch it. I will, even if I don't play some of these cards, I'll definitely be getting a bunch of boosters for this. But now I'm going to need a place to put all this shit. Next up, though, Batman Berserk has been announced. And this is from Prime One Studio, which it is a statue that had been dubbed Batman Berserk Dark Age Saga, aka Batman the Berserker Rage Mode, according to what this article says. The upcoming statue will recreate the Dark Knight as a berserker, placed inside a suit of armor that would look right at home, wrapped around the Black Swordsman, according to this article. The statue holds a hefty price tag at 1,699 USDs, folks. And Yep, is set to arrive between May and August of next year. There's a video attached to this article where you can check it out, and apparently people are comparing this. Well, I guess it is a slightly kind of a crossover between Berserk and Batman. So, but not so much. Yeah. Next up, and lastly,
last but not least, this is a Roddykat story. If there was ever a Roddykat story, AMC Theaters unveils DC Comics' 90th anniversary popcorn buckets. Goodness gracious.
Yes.
So, let's see. So, per industry news and fan page DC Film News on Twitter, AMC Theaters locations have begun rolling out the DC Comics 90th anniversary popcorn buckets. Each of the half dozen collectible tins bears the cover of a different iconic DC Comics title, including Action Comics #1, Superman #1, Wonder Woman #103, Batman #1, Justice League #102, and The Flash Showcase Comics #4. To go along with the new popcorn buckets, fans who manage to get their hands on one will also receive a matching lanyard and card holder. Each collectible DC Comics 90th anniversary popcorn bucket retails for $21. Although theater goers have reported that stock on certain versions, namely the Wonder Woman 103 and the Flash Showcase Comics #4, are incredibly limited.
Surprise.
Scalper.
But yeah, if you're watching the video version, you see me scrolling through a couple of the pictures that are about. I'm also slightly curious about why certain specific issues.
First appearance.
Well, I mean, most specifically the Justice League one. The rest of them, yes, I get those, but the Justice League one in particular.
It's not popping up. The images are not popping up on my. That cover. That's the cover. Wow.
Yeah. I clicked through the Twitter page. So yeah. Curious. Like I said, they don't really show anything for the rest of them, but that one's the one they pulled out.
Got it.
So yeah. That's a thing. I don't know if I come across them, maybe. I'm not that big of a DC person, but you know what?
Yeah, the lanyard one makes sense.
Yes,
because that's a first appearance, but the actual tin is a little different.
Right. So it's like I said, curious, very curious. But that's it, folks, for the news section. Let's get one last ad read in.
Our last ad read of the nights for Blue. No, we did Blue Apron already. Wink, your personalized wine club. Wink is a world of wine delivered right to your door. From rosé to Cabernet to Torronté, Wink has over 100 styles of wine to discover. Ever try an orange wine? Wink connects you to a world of exclusive wines tailored to your taste and delivered directly to your door. Wink delivers 4 bottles of wine to you every month with free shipping. You can pick your own bottles or let Wink choose and match to your taste. It doesn't cost a thing to become a member, and you can skip or cancel anytime. And now the listeners of the Comic Book Chronicles can enjoy an exclusive discount of $20 off your first order. To place your first order with $20 off and to help keep our show free for you, go to our network website at cspn.us/wink. That's cspn.us/WINC. Wink wines through cspn.us. Do it today.
All right, folks, that's it. We are out of here for this week. Once again, happy Black History Month. I guess enjoy your Olympic coverage. I hear curling is a nail biter this year. Actually, I don't. I have had a weird fascination with curling, but you know what? That's a whole nother story for another time. But yeah, so things are out there. We will be back next week. The ills of the world may try to bring you down, but we will try to, be a port in the storm as much as we can.
We're just gonna be persistent and consistent.
Yeah, indeed. And with that, folks, I have been Roddykat to you You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter. You can find News Nerds Need on Twitter. You can find me at CBCaps on Instagram and Blue Sky and all those places. 18_70 on Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, and Threads. You can also find this here podcast on the Cold Slither Podcast Network. That's CSPN.US.
Do it today.
You know what? Do yourself a favor and go out there on the Hasbro YouTube, the G.I. Joe channel, and go look up the Cold Slither episode. It's a treat, mate. And
Yar! No, we don't. We're not talking about situations like that.
Actually, you don't have to yar for that one actually, because they actually just straight up have those out there. Yeah, you either catch it, streaming on the live streaming channel, or it's just out there, so that's fun. Also, Transformers channels out there for your streaming pleasures. So you know what, get you some. But if you want to, yar, hey, actually, Transformers have been cheap fairly recently. But anyway, I mean, G.I. Joe fairly recently. But anyway, side point. You can also find the same podcast personal place of choice, whether it be Google Play, Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Cold Slither Podcast Network SoundCloud page.
Make sure to click like, subscribe, and leave us all the positive 5-star reviews, especially on Apple Podcasts, because that helps people find our show.
And you can just attach that to the next thing in where Agent 70 doesn't have to relay this message. But you know what? Hey, we record every week, Thursdays, mostly Thursdays, because I know we had to come from a day later for a reason. Sometimes that happens, but normally Thursday nights, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time, more closer to 10 o'clock, let's be honest. YouTube.com/TheKliqNation, that's TheKliqNation, and Twitch.tv/Comic Book Chronicles.
Again, click like, subscribe, hit that notification button so you know when we're on live.
Yeah. So he didn't have to, but he did it because he's a trooper. I appreciate it. But and hopefully more streams to come on Twitch, on the Twitch channel at the very least, so we can get some more comic book, video gaming goodness out there, and there is a lot of it in the annals of video game history. So we're going to see more about that. But folks, this has been the Comic Book Chronicles. Peace.
Peace. One.
Salute me, familia. Salute.
And of course, fuck ice.
Good evening, Rick. Would you believe it's Dr. Doom?
What's on your evil mind?